It's a beautiful week, and I bid you all welcome to the studios of Pony TV in Laro. It's time once again for newspaper review and analysis. My name remains Femi Afolabi, and I have seated in the studio a publisher, a veteran journalist, and of course, a public affairs analyst. I'm talking about Mr. Simon Fakeye. Mr. Fakeye, you're welcome.
Thank you.
How was your weekend?
We thank God. We enjoy it.
You're looking cool, Sha.
Well, maybe one just have to remain cool. Otherwise, the pressure on all of us now.
Thank God for His mercy. Okay, we are starting today's production with a touch of some economic stories, and I'm going straight to the front page of a Vanguard newspaper. The headline on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper says, Federal government, others struggling to meet obligations despite rise in revenue. Federal government, others struggling to meet obligations despite rise in revenue. And there's a minor report that is very similar to that. It gives more explanation to government's earning in the last 5 years. And I'm talking about a minor story on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And it says 5 months crude exports fetch Nigeria 20 trillion naira. 5 months crude exports fetch Nigeria 20 trillion naira. Okay, what the newspapers were saying, like I mentioned in Vanguard, which says federal government and others were struggling to meet obligations despite the rise in revenue. And the Punch, the minor story in the Punch newspaper, in the front page of Punch newspaper, is saying federal government has earned 20 trillion naira in 5 months, despite amidst the crisis in the Gulf region. So one will have wondered why government is struggling to meet obligation if you have 20 trillion naira in equity.
Yeah. Your assumption to me is right. If, yes, those figures are what I refer to gross earnings before statutory deductions. Let me give an example. I think in 2025, it was reported that NNPC remitted, I think, about 60 trillion naira, if I'm right. But at the end of the day, they were able to come up with between 5 and 6 trillion naira as net profits that belongs to the federal government after statutory transfers, deductions, royalties, and all of that. So that actual figure, 20 trillion, yes, is the total income from sales of crude oil. But there are expenditures that must be deducted. There are royalties to be paid, salaries, and every other thing. So at the end of the day, you may be surprised to know that the net profits that belong to federal government from that 20 trillion naira may be less than 3 trillion naira. So, in a way, those headlines may sound sensational, if I can call it lazy journalism. Now, to the issue of huge income or revenue and why government is struggling, well, the same thing applies. I think there was a paper mentioned 150 trillion naira revenue coming and all of that. That is before necessary or statutory transfers or deductions. So, at the end of the day, the money that is going into the single treasury account will just be a fraction of that figure. Because the way federal government operates, let's take custom services, for example, there must be some amount, what do they call it, that will be used, just as Yoruba will say, owo la fi ń wówó, is what federal government is practicing in a way to fund the Internal Revenue Agency. So, yes, there are other factors like the rising or continuous naira depreciation that will continue to affect. If FG budgets 20 trillion today at the rate of 1,400, and tomorrow the naira drip down to 1,450. Definitely, there's going to be deficit. So, why I'm not briefing for the federal government for their failure to do what they're supposed to do, I want to believe that President Tinubu is being sincere about the way his government is going about restructuring the country. So, but we should try as much as possible as media people to always avoid sensationalism, which can be heating up the polity unnecessarily. We should leave all that to the opposition party, which to me, going forward, they should always prioritize patriotism. Let them be reasonable about whatever criticism they are going to bring forward.
Okay, we're still talking about the economy. This minor report on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. The story is on the masthead, and it says FCCPC to marketers cut petroleum prices or face sanctions. Cut petrol prices or face sanctions. We all know that the price of crude in the international market is a bit lower now because of the ceasefire where the world is enjoying from the crisis in the Gulf region. And that presupposes that the cost of fuel, the price of petrol down in Nigeria should by now be coming down. But as of now, Dangote is still selling above 1,000 naira. And of course, there are importers, licensed importers of petroleum products, which are competing with Dangote. And that the federal government is now telling the importers now to cut the cost of petrol or face sanctions. Is that necessary?
Um, it's related with what we just discussed about the economy. We all aware that the crude price that presently, because of the issues resolved between Iran and the US, yeah, have been reduced. There's a fact that the Dangote and others have refined, they have bought crude and refined at that higher price. So until they sell out the one they've procured before the dropping in the crude price, then we cannot, because they are business people. Yes, we want them to reduce the price. At the same time, they can't afford to lose because they will have to. So, to me, I think that is what is obtainable, apart from the fact that the crude price is being determined by foreign nations. So, let's continue to prevail on them. As soon as they sell the one they have in their storage, as soon as they finish selling them, then they should please bring the price down so that Nigerian masses can feel the effect or impact of the reduction in the price of the crude oil. On the issue of the federal government revenue and all of, we want to remember also that about 60 to 70% of the revenue is being used to service most of the external debt in foreign currency. So, and as I said, because the naira is not stable, so it will continue to affect what goes out compared to what comes in.
Okay, let's go to politics, and we are going straight to the front page of Punch newspaper. There's this screaming headline on the front page of Punch newspaper, which says Obi Kwankwaso lead NDC's battle against deregistration. Obi Kwankwaso leads NDC's battle against deregulation. We're still talking about registration or deregistration. Very few weeks to the beginning of a campaign leading to 2027. And of course, it is not very rosy in the camp of the opposition. I stumbled on a write-up on the social media a few days ago, which is bringing, let me say sentiment anyway, this time around, that even during the period of late President Muhammadu Buhari, we had almost 90 registered political parties. And if at a point in time, people were wondering how big or how long will the ballots look like when we go into elections? And the then administration didn't do anything about registration or deregistration of any political party. It was a belief of that regime that at a point in time, those parties that are not up to date or up to the quality they are demanding will fizzle out. Why don't we have such now, so that the opposition will not be crying that it is the sitting government that is using the judiciary of somehow to weigh them down?
I think this is a case of allegation, wrong and right. NNDC is being accused of a wrongdoing, and the court, being the intermediary, is saying that, oh, we didn't want to or to meant to be one-sided. We want to give everybody the same rights. So on the part of the PMP, yes, we've forgotten to invite them or join them in the whole thing. All right, we're sorry about that. We are now setting aside the judgment to allow PMP to come in. So the reality is, as soon as the both parties are allowed into the hearing, then whoever win the day. So it is wrong. Of course, it's not unexpected of oppositions to think that it is the federal government, the ruling party, that is trying to create problem for them. No, the issue is very simple. NDC has came up with a logo, symbol, and a kind of similar name. Now, there was allegation that no, there was a suit rather, that why should NDC be registered? Then PMP now having the same problem, that if we allow them to be registered, they are using similar logo with us. By the time we put forward our name for registration, then INEC may ban us that no, we should not be, we won't be allowed to use that logo. So let's get this right first. We own the logo. We submit, we've been in existence before NDC. So NDC is the one to use another logo, not us. I think I'm just assuming they are defense. So PNB is saying that for the court to have allowed or passed a kind of NDC without addressing the issue of the logo, it will come back at the detriment of PMP. So let's resolve it now once and for all. That is the issue. So it's not about federal government, it's not about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but an issue between two parties. Even PMP is not a party as we speak, but an association planning to become party. So the issue is for NDC to resolve the matter with them, even before the people took them to the court. It's something they can resolve in-house, that NDC can go to PMP. You people, please allow us. We can fund another logo for you so that time will not be against us. So it's not about federal government. It's not about the fault of the ruling party, but their own fault for their failure to carry out due diligence in ensuring that all they have in their document is perfect and genuine against what PMP is claiming.
Okay, still talking about politics. 2027 timeline. INEC parties disagree over access code for candidates. I'm looking at the front page of a Vanguard newspaper. There's this line on the report. 2027 timeline. INEC parties disagree over access code for candidates. Why do we have that again? Why do we have disagreement?
Well,
because the portal is supposed to have been open so that parties can input their candidates, the final list of their candidates there, so that I can.
But I think these are contradictory. Some said, like ADC and Co, that they've received their code. I think it's about NDC alone. And another contradiction, I learned that the code will be released today, Monday. INEC said it had been released, and some parties claim that they've gotten their own. So Now, let's know which party in particular have not received its own code. If it is for NDC, they have to wait until the final judgment on the suit between NDC and PMP.
Okay, we're looking at a little bit of insecurity now, and I'm going to the front page of a Tribune newspaper. There's this minor story on the masthead, and it says Operation Kosaye, Ogun, Lagos, hail police onslaught against criminals. The details of our report is that police has mobilized to combine the forest or the forest areas between Lagos and Ogun. And of course, people are hailing it. Why does the police need to wait this long before doing that? Is it because people are losing confidence in the force, as it were? Because ordinarily, this kind of exercise is supposed to have come earlier before now. Maybe it was static anyway.
Maybe because they are also afraid of their own lives, that they can be picked as well anytime. So if they fail to do what they're supposed to do, because kidnapping has now become, it's not about masses of poor people again. So they are targeting anybody. So bàbá ní kò ní kanni bó bá kẹni tó máa kanni. So it's about protecting everybody, because it can be any other person's turn some other day. So if they are now partnering to ensure that there's safety in Ogun and Lagos, is a good thing. Maybe because of the urgency of the whole thing, so, and for the fear of losing people's approval, as you've said. So, but whichever way, I think kidnapping or terrorism has now gotten to a stage where everybody, even military operatives, should be concerned about their personal life. If not them, their wife, their children, and others. So it is time for them to rise up and do the needful.
Still talking about security, particularly in the southwest. It was in the social media. In fact, it went viral last weekend that the bandits, as it were, or the kidnappers, ambushed the team of Sunday Igboho, who entered the old Oyo Park over the weekend to begin the rescue operation of the children that were kidnapped. Let me put it that way, about a month ago. Now we know that the team were ambushed, and people are now saying, okay, whatever you want to do, you should be circumspect about the strategies you want to use, because before then it was widely reported, and even in the media, showing us drones and whatever you want to do to capture those people. What is your take on that?
Well, it is a two-sided coin. You know, there are strategies. I think one of them, in those days, I learned that when there is war and a party is preparing to go for, one of the strategy is to create deadly, shocking sounds that will create fear in the mind of the opponent. And in the millennium wars again, I think one of the strategy was that they will set guns and the megaphones, and started shooting. The megaphone will be carrying the sound of the gun, so that will scare the enemies to run away, believing that, oh, our enemy is coming with heavy equipment. So announcing their strategy, how they are going about it to some extent, and the droning and all of that, is a way of creating fear in the mind of the terrorists. So knowing that these people are coming to get us, these people have everything to capture us. So it's one of the warring strategy. So that is what I can understand. Why, as you are trying to propose that they should keep in secret some of their movements, their strategy, their equipment, and all of that. But at the same time, this Ariwo is a form of strategy, a way of scaring the terrorists to run away from Southwest territory.
All right, that is the opinion of Mr. Simon Fakeye, that is a strategy, at least, to create fear in the minds of those kidnappers. But I tell you, we are fighting a non-conventional war. We are fighting a war that nobody knows where it will end. We just pray that government or the God will assist Nigeria to overcome this very terrible challenges. And that is the program this afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow with a fresh edition. But before I go, let me on your behalf thank Mr. Simon Fakeye for finding time to be here. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm grateful.
All right, we'll be here tomorrow. Stay blessed.